Hello, I'm Mark Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have the pleasure of Ollie Mason, the MD and founder of KOcycle, in the studio. How are we doing, Ollie?
Very good, thank you, Mark. It's a hot day. Thank you for having me. Apologies to postpone a couple of times, but we've got some lunch at the end of it.
Do you know what? I was actually going to say that because you've made Channel Chat history today because you are the first Channel Chat guest to insist on buying me lunch. So any future guests, I will be open to that, but I normally do pay. But Ollie's the first person that's actually paid. So thank you very much for
no worries at all. Great company.
I want to kick off with your career because I was looking at your LinkedIn profile today and I thought, how did Ollie actually get into IT? Because I looked at your degree and you studied is it legal international law or legal?
International legal studies, yeah, correct.
So there was no idea of actually thinking about getting to an IT salesperson then. So tell me about it. What made you start studying that and how did you get into IT?
Yeah, it's absolutely not where it started. Previously, I wanted to be a barrister. That was the aspiration.
Objection!
Had to be said.
Sorry.
As I went to university, finished university, did a little bit of travelling and came back. And when kind of considering the next stage of education and what that looked like in a legal career, I thought, I'd look at other options. I've always followed my mum's career. It's done a lot of great things for us as a family. She's been in the channel for over 25 years.
Wow.
And as a result, I thought, right, the channel can't be a bad thing. Let me understand a little bit more about it. I had no technical expertise, absolutely zero. I remember going to the Insight graduate open day up in Uxbridge, 30 odd candidates. And I remember having to present, I think it was an iPad 2 about 10 years ago.
Tough times.
I didn't know what RAM was. I didn't know anything like this. I knew nothing about iPads. I'm sitting there, nervous as you like, having to stand up in front of the 30 candidates. Thankfully, I was one of those that got down selected, moved up from where I'm from near Winchester, moved up to London and thought, right, let's give this a go.
That's a commitment though, isn't it? So
absolutely.
You got a job, your first job in IT, and you actually moved locations for it.
Yeah, moved into Harrow. And I'm sure Insight when we're saying this, and things have changed in the market then, but it was 16 grand, no commission for 6 months, work your ass off, hit the phones 100 times a day and try and make something of yourself. So I remember, again, some funny story, I suppose. I remember going to Harrow Station and sitting there going, well, I've got to jump this gate, right? There's only way I'm getting to work. I've got to be to work on time. I've got to get this train. I've got to get to Uxbridge and get there. So yeah, I was living with a lady in a very small flat in Harrow. Wow. Absolute shithole, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah.
But it was looking around the room the minute I entered Insight. Number one, there was a hell of a lot of excitement. And I was almost, infected by that straight away. But also, I think meeting the people and seeing what it done for their own lives. And for me, that was, infectious. I looked around going, I could do this. And if I back myself and work hard enough, I believe I can get to the next stage. So Insight certainly gave me that opportunity.
How did you feel about, you mentioned there 16,000, no commission for 6 months. How did you, because most people in sales are working hard for commission. How did you put the shift in for the first 6 months knowing that you wouldn't get paid any commission or bonuses?
I think it was knowing about the wider opportunity and what you were vying for. Insight put that gamble on yourself and they were investing in you, and likewise I think the market's changed a lot now, but it was about trying to reciprocate that investment. And I could see what it done to other people. You see the nice cars coming in, you see their lives change. For me, it was a very similar thing. It was going, while it's short-term pain, look at the longer-term picture. And I'm so glad I stuck with it, right? It was a competitive environment. Everyone was vying to try and deliver the top results, but there was a very nurturing team around us, and I know their graduate scheme's gone from strength to strength. I think that was the first rendition of this graduate scheme. I'm sure people aren't being paid 16 grand no commission these days. I hope not anyway.
17, 18. No, it's a bit more.
But it was a case of, I learned some fantastic skills from doing that, right? I think by knowing that you've got to work hard and, there may not be the rewards there, from a starting point, it's about proving yourself rather than expecting the employer to create that career for you. So I think it was a very valuable experience. I know a lot of those that I was on the graduate scheme with, some are now at Cisco, some at Oracle. They've done some great things with their career. So while at the time it might have felt a little bit of short-term pain, I know that it taught us a lot of great skills. And
talk to me about your early career there and your early years there. So you obviously started in a junior sales or grad sales. Yeah. How did you move up? How did you progress?
So I worked in graduate sales. There were some targets there. After the 6 months, I was asked to be an account manager. And that was, again, a cherished opportunity. Wanted to outdo all the rest of the account managers. Actually worked for Gary Remington, was the sales director at the time.
Yeah, no, Gary.
Gary kind of spotted that potentially I've got some potential. I was doing a lot of home education, and say I had no technical background or expertise. I knew that a lot of the value in the insight proposition was in Microsoft, a Microsoft solution software selling, right? So I invested in myself to do the MCP in my own time, the MCSE in my own time. And Gary saw a lot of that potential, the calls I was having, the way I was doing things. So he ushered me up through the rungs from account manager through to account director, change director at the top. Jill Holloway and I got on incredibly well from the starting point, and likewise, she finally made me a client director, leading a team of 6, completely external and working on key accounts. And that's where I think I really came into my own in terms of solution-based selling, outcome-based selling, understanding the client's problems, and being kind of ever present with key accounts.
It's interesting you say about, you took it upon yourself to do that Microsoft exam. Now, in my experience, most salespeople don't do that. They rely on charisma, chat. Oh, I'll bring in pre-sales for that. I'll do this. How important do you think is it in the modern day for a salesperson to have some technical competencies that they can articulate a message to a customer? Because quite frankly, I don't see that across the channel. I see most people just still using relationship, charm, wit, golf days.
Sure.
I know this mate from XYZ.
So I suppose it's how do you disturb, right? And how do you try and reach the top quickly? You can rely on relationships if maybe you've been in the channel 25 years and they've been nurtured over a long period of time. It's your mate from the pub or it's your mate from the golf. Where I was in that stage of my career, I knew I had to add value at the first line, right? Yeah. While you'd always rely on specialists and bring them into the conversation, you wanted to be able to have that conversation whereby the minute you break into that account or the minute they first meet you, particularly as a young guy, right? I was 22 at the time, 23, I had to add substance. So for me, I think more so than ever now, it's vitally important. I was saying to you at lunch, the phrase I hate the most in this channel is, "But I'm not technical."
Yeah.
What are you selling? You're selling technical solutions. There's being not technical and there's not understanding what you're actually proposing to a client. How can you focus on their outcome, what you're trying to achieve for them, if you don't understand what you're putting in front of them? Anyone can open a door and go, "Can I bring this person in?" But then ultimately, you're a hunter that opens a door. You're actually adding no value through the solution cycle. And people and clients, for me, what I've learned along the way is, yes, they invest in people, but they also want that trust and accountability. And when things go wrong, they want to be able to pick up that phone to you. If you're not accountable for the solution, but you're happy to have the commission on the back of that solution, are you really adding value to the client? Yeah. I think that's what I've realised along the way. And to this day, right, I'm still learning. Prince 2 practitioner now, ITIL 4 foundation advocate. For me, I try and do as many courses as I can within reason, particularly if they're relevant to the solutions we're putting forward in front of clients.
Great answer, Ollie. Do you think, you mentioned there 22, 23, you've obviously done those exams. In my experience, most people aren't doing that. How would you advise someone who's going into a sort of similar career to yourself? Maybe they're inside undergraduate scheme, they're 22, they're 23, they probably haven't got the credibility and they haven't got the trust of those customers. Now, you've obviously given one way of actually learning something yourself. How would you advise someone to do that? Would you advise it to go down your own route, learn more about the industry or some courses, or what would you say is the best thing to do?
So at Insight, I followed some great people, and it's not just naming names here, but Nick Goodwin, right, was one of the top guys. He sold Microsoft solutions. You bring him into a meeting, he can advocate it really well. You're almost enthralled by working with him. And for me, I got that passion from his passion and thought, right, I want to go down that route. So it's not saying that that's the right route. I think Microsoft's a great thing to do, but it's learning from other people, right? Do you get on well with the project management team? Are you looking to be a Cisco specialist, and in which case the CCNA route? It's looking at those people that are already in the business doing well and then trying to replicate what they're doing well. So I suppose going back to your question, it's about sitting there and understanding where you want to go in your career as a first line, as a baseline, right? And then choosing to put that in front of the business and maybe say, can you sponsor this? Can you help me get there? Because I will add this much value to your organization. So it's that win-return kind of thing, right? Yeah. Or if that's not possible, because maybe you're in a smaller company, the day's consumed 100%, I would say sit there in your own time and learn more about what you're selling. Not just about what you're selling. When that becomes apparent, you start to understand client issues more. And ultimately, if you can solve those issues for the client, if you can help that client progress in their own career, if you can help that business transform, disrupt, become more efficient, save more money, that client will be completely loyal to you as a salesperson.